Welcome back to the Teller County Sheriff's Office podcast. I'm Tommy Allen, and I'm joined by Heather and Mitch from the Teller County Search and Rescue. What is it, Teller County Search and Rescue?
Officially, it's a search and rescue posse.
Should you find yourself in a significant amount of trouble somewhere in the county, or maybe even external to the county, these are the folks that are going to be coming to help you get out of that situation. So let me go ahead and ask you to start maybe by talking about who the Search and Rescue Posse is, and you kind of introduce us to your mission statement.
So the mission statement's very simple. It's so that others may live.
Yes.
You know, it's just simply whatever we can do throughout the county, throughout the state, to make sure people can get out of the situation they've gotten themselves into.
Okay.
Or had thrust upon them by a horrible accident. It's completely not their fault. So.
Yeah, and the reason that specifically talking about that, I was talking to the sheriff. He brought up Teller County Search and Rescue. He said that you are extremely active in the county, kind of always. So that must mean that you've got a pretty good or robust group of people that you have. How many people do you have on Search and Rescue?
52 active members.
Okay.
And there's usually about 12 to 20 that show up to every mission because, of course, everybody has a day job.
Of course. Speaking of that, so you're completely volunteer-based?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of walks of life are the volunteers that you have?
All walks.
All of them, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's recent college graduates looking for jobs. It's retirees.
Okay.
People who run their own business.
Engineers. We got a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would think that there are the more mundane things. You're running around helping motorists who've been stranded out in the snow somewhere, but there's also the very adventurous stuff where you're out in the backcountry. We got a lot of middle of nowhere out here in Teller County, and
Yes.
I would assume that you find yourself out there very often.
Yeah, generally, probably the backside of Pikes Peak, which is the part that's in Teller County.
Yeah.
So Raspberry Crags, Catamount, Devil's Playground. We've had quite a few Devil's Playgrounds this last year.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And you always come down. Going back up's not really the option on that one.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, I saw. I was talking earlier with you about one of your members is a pretty good friend of mine. He was showing me pictures about one of your your UTV up there with the tracks on it, up in the snow, up around Devil's Playground, and there was nothing around except some rocks and one guy standing in the background.
Yeah. We try and get our people as close as we can, especially on missions like that where it's you're gonna be hip deep in snow, even if you've got snowshoes on.
Sure, yeah, right.
It doesn't necessarily make it easy.
Yeah.
So, but that tracked vehicle's been amazing this last winter, just getting us down places where we can get closer to the subject and not
Okay.
having to walk them quite as far.
Now, I'm assuming, obviously we're in warmer months, but we're getting ready to transition into late fall, winter. We're going to get some snow here before too long. How does your volume of work and how do your missions kind of change as warm becomes cold?
Well, I'd really like to say we can see patterns in how rescues happen. We just can't.
Okay.
You know, in springtime, we had the storm from where with our 4 feet of snow, and that was a massive mission load.
Sure.
We've had other springs, other Aprils with 4 missions.
Okay.
2 missions. And then for some reason, our June was very busy.
Okay.
But our July and August,
Yeah, not
very
so much.
slow. Whereas other units throughout the state, they really picked up in July and August.
Okay.
And so it would be nice to be able to say, well, we get this kind of mission, this kind of a year, this kind of mission. Going into fall, we obviously more hunting missions.
Okay.
Generally hunters are pretty well prepared. They just get turned around. So they tell them to hunker down, stay warm. Generally, don't start a fire unless you need it.
Sure, right. Yeah. Especially if you fall around here, for crying out loud. So I guess one of the things that you do also is you have a pretty robust Facebook page that has different ways to prepare for going out into the back country out here.
We call that PSAR, Preventative Search and Rescue.
Okay.
So that's everything from going into classrooms, working with students of all ages, and we just vary the lesson based on who we're talking to. We visit summer camps.
Sure.
We just work with their counselors and do a basic, like, hey, find out where the kid last was.
Sure.
And maybe who they're hanging out with, that sort of thing. And then we'll also do community events. We'll be at the Fridays Farmers Market in Woodland Park, and we can talk with people there.
Okay.
We just did a special event at one of the free concerts put on by the Parks and Rec Department, where we were able to talk a little bit more about, just the real basic stuff.
Sure. So your mission statement goes, when somebody thinks of search and rescue, whenever I'm talking to somebody about search and rescue, they think out, go find a stranded hiker who's hurt himself. Mm-hmm. But it goes well beyond that. It's stranded motorist, it's education, it's all sorts of other things then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's that person who hurt themselves while they were on the trail. Totally prepared.
Sure, right, yeah.
But, now my leg is broken and we need help.
Okay.
And I would say the Facebook page is more about letting people know that as soon as you know you're in trouble, that's when you need to call. And, call 911, text 911, whatever ability that you have, so that we have the idea of we need to get out there right now. Because we are coming from work.
Sure.
Or, and we have to come and gather the gear and then move out to wherever the trailhead is. And if it took you 2 hours to get to where you're at, it's going to take us a little longer because we're not at the trailhead waiting to go up.
And you're carrying all that
And we're carrying all that stuff with us. So, yeah. That's why we're trying to be like, make sure you have enough to keep you comfortable until we can get there. So.
Yeah, and the whole pride thing about
Yes.
I can make it back, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm at, but I'm dragging my broken leg, but I get it. Okay, so as soon as you know you're in trouble.
Yeah, just make that call. Search and rescue's free.
Yep.
In all of Colorado.
Okay, great.
And throughout 99.9% of the United States,
sure,
SAR is going to be free.
So one of the things that the people here really need to understand also is for you to be able to do your job as well as you can, you need to understand that you're not going out there in a law enforcement capacity, correct?
That's absolutely correct. We understand people get lost, sometimes purposefully take the closed road up in the forest. Sometimes they have one too many gummies out on the trail. We've had missions that have been potentially hampered by people being scared of calling 911. I mean, at minimum, we start to get moving. Mm-hmm. Someone drives along, picks you up, takes you down, and you say, I got a ride out. And we say, fantastic.
Great.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how about something like, okay, I'm going to go hiking out. I know I'm going to go out to the middle of nowhere, and I'm planning to go by myself. Mm-hmm. But I let a family member know where I'm starting, where I'm going, and then when I'm planning on being back. Do you get many calls from family members who have lost somebody?
We get a fair amount.
Yeah, in years past that was higher.
Okay.
Now that everybody pretty much carries a cell phone, and there are lots of places that you will get just a small ping.
Yeah, sure. Uh-huh.
So a lot of our searches now are pretty much we have like a location.
Okay.
But we do get those, and that is very helpful. And there are a lot of times that by the time we're driving out there, we might be seeing that car coming out because they were just late.
Okay.
They didn't make it back quite when they thought that they were going to. But having a starting place is very helpful. You can't just say, my friend went to go hike and divide.
Yeah.
So what happens when we get that minimal information is dispatch sends deputies to trailheads to try to locate the vehicle.
Yeah.
Once the deputies locate the vehicle, that gives us a starting point, and we have mission pre-plans for many of our areas here where we can say 90% of the people who hike this trail, they get lost at this corner, or those sorts of things. And we can then send a hasty team that goes out real fast, real light, basic first aid and communications equipment, and they can boogie up the trail either on foot or on e-bike, on UTV, ATV, they can get to our most known locations right away and either find the subject or clear that area.
Okay.
And then, okay, they're not there. Where's the next location? And that search area grows exponentially, which for us is scary because our volunteer base doesn't grow exponentially every mission.
Sure, right.
And so we do our best to hit the most likely areas first and then work on searching other places.
So that brings up another point, is that while somebody's out there in a dangerous situation, maybe it's blizzarding or something like that, you are in that same danger, but you may be better prepared, but you are introducing yourself to the same set of circumstances that person that put themselves in that danger are. You're choosing to go out there and help, but people can't just think, oh, sorry, the search and rescue will come out and get me, because you could very well end up in a bad way yourselves.
And our priority list has to start with ourselves.
Okay, yes, of
So
course.
if we get injured, if we get hurt or hypothermic, we cannot help anyone else.
The worst thing you can do is become an additional part of the problem.
Yes. Yeah, if we've got Flight for Life circling overhead and then one of our people has a horrible accident and flight's got to take off, we got to wait for another flight to come in.
Sure.
So we really want people to know we're not ignoring you. We're providing the best service possible by keeping us healthy. There's up in the Indian Peaks wilderness, there's a fallen climber right now who his body cannot be reached safely. And the search and rescue team up there has tried to approach that body from multiple angles, and they have to wait for things to solidify for them to do that recovery.
Okay.
Because it's horrible to have a family member, their location, but you can't recover them.
Sure.
But the search and rescue team can't get in there safely. We had a mission up on Pikes Peak helping El Paso County, where we had a husband and wife took the wrong way down. And there was lots of rock fall, lots of potential for rock fall. So we had to move extremely slowly through very potentially dangerous terrain to find our subjects. One of them went up out the top, one of them went down out the bottom. And
That was an
They
overnight
split up.
mission.
How best to say this? There was a situation where one person took off and one person followed.
Oh, okay.
And tried to get the other one to stop, but was out of vocal range. And then the lower one got injured. The upper one had gear issues. His shoes fell apart. They're just not major.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Uh-huh.
And so she was injured, had to be littered out overnight. That was a 26 or 28 hour mission for that group.
Yeah.
The other group, we honestly packaged the guy and he slept on the mountain overnight.
Okay.
And then we hiked him out in the morning with ropes attached to him for safety and so on. And
Now, how often is lack of preparation over just a plain old accident? How often is lack of preparation the culprit?
95%.
Not really.
yeah,
Okay. I mean, you're talking about this guy's up there in the wrong shoes and his shoes fall apart.
the wrong shoes, obviously not a trail.
Uh-huh.
A person went up to climb Sentinel Point over by Horse Thief Park, and she was prepared. She had everything and just had bad luck.
Sure.
Yeah, turned around when she got above tree line because she saw a storm was coming in faster than she anticipated it to, and she's like, well, I better turn around and go back. And turned around and got another 100 yards down the trail.
Broke her
Her
ankle.
ankle.
Oh man! So made all the right decisions then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was
Had all the
prepared,
stuff, all the right
watched
decisions.
the weather.
Yeah.
Had the
Heads
experience.
Yeah.
down, sure, and
Yeah.
just bad accident. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Which makes me think also, how often are you dealing with people from out of town who just want to come up and see how beautiful Teller County is, as opposed to locals who may know Teller County but maybe are a little overconfident?
Probably 85% are
Out of
from
town.
out of town.
Yeah, okay.
Generally from out of state.
Boy, I mean, as we're getting the leaves changing right now, I'm thinking that
Yeah.
we're probably going to be seeing a lot of that coming in.
We get some wandering. I know some areas mushroom hunters because they're just tracking morels.
Oh,
You know,
sure,
and
sure.
then they look up and they go, "Uh-oh,
Right.
where am I?" You know, it's cloudy. I don't know where the sun is anymore. I don't know where the mountain is anymore. Those are when people really get in trouble because we get 320 days of sunlight every year, and you can kind of always see the big mountain.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
And I tell
Okay.
them, if you can see the big mountain, you're oriented, and you can kind of put that on your back and go the other direction or whatever. And when it gets cloudy, when the storms roll in, we had some early missions in July where monsoons were starting, and the Craig's Trail, they got 3 inches of hail on it. The trail disappears under 3 inches of hail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
people said, "Uh-oh," and they called immediately. And we said, "Thank you for calling immediately." And people were coming out soaking wet. You know, the needs of hikers in Colorado in the morning,
Yeah.
it'd be 80 degrees, that cotton shirt feels great. And then
Yeah.
I have nothing against cotton. It's wonderful for some things. But for others,
Yeah, not for
it-
technical.
Not
it-
technical hike.
as soon as it gets wet and cold out, you want to be able to change into something that will keep you dry.
Right.
We tell people a lot of times the best thing you can put in your backpack, hide it at the bottom, is a garbage bag.
Oh,
You just tear a hole in the top, tear some armholes, you've got a rain jacket.
oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, because they'll keep you dry.
You can put it over your knees, you got a tent.
Okay.
You know, just the basic stuff will keep you alive. It won't keep you happy.
No.
It won't bring you great joy to use. But we rescued a kiddo who was out trail running. I say kiddo, he was 16. He was out trail running and got lost on Raspberry Mountain.
Oh, okay.
It's easy to do. There's multiple trails on Raspberry Mountain. And he had one of those little tiny folding plastic ponchos. And storm came in, hail, rain. He hunkered under that thing. He was wearing a tank top and short shorts. And we got to him, and he was a little chilly, but he had been out there for 2+ hours, had been running for an hour ahead of time, and he was able to come around very quickly. And we just jogged out with him.
Oh, nice. Okay.
You know, so we didn't have to haul out the litter. We were able to get him some food, some warm liquids, and he perked right up. But that tiny little $4 poncho kept him from being hypothermic.
Well, and those little ponchos are about that big.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of preparation like that can really save your life.
Yeah, and he told people about where he was, and his cell coverage up there. He was able to get a text to his mom in Oklahoma.
Oh,
We wish he would have just called 911.
sure. Yeah.
But he was able to tell his mom some landmarks. His mom called 911, told us the landmarks, and we said, "Oh, we know right where he is. We'll be right back."
Yeah.
And we were able to run out and get him. And that was a 2-person team was able to go out and grab this guy.
Okay.
Well, everyone else just kind of prepped in case he had wandered.
Sure. Okay.
Because people get scared while they're waiting, because 2 hours is a long
to
time.
sit and
Oh,
move
I can
on.
imagine.
When we tell you, don't move.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, I'm cold. I think I see something.
Yeah.
I'm going that. I think I hear somebody." And then, they're not where their cell signal said they were.
Now that kind of brings me around to training. What kind of training do you do? I've seen some of the videos, and I've seen some of the pictures about your rappelling and some of your mountaineering training, and just getting out and familiarizing yourselves with the area. So what does training kind of look like for the search and rescue?
So the very first thing we tell people when they join search and rescue or come to a meeting is get familiar with all of these different trails.
Oh, yeah.
Hike them at different times of the year. Be sure and turn around and look back because everything looks different at different times of the day and everything else. Just familiarize yourself with what's around. But then the unit provides all of the classroom and outdoor training that somebody would need to be part of a field deployable team.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a kind of a rank system where you have your ground pounders, and then you kind of, once you've proven yourself at that, and we know you've got some speed, you become part of a hasty team if you're there early, and then you become a team leader. And then a team leader, you become a mission coordinator, and then potentially an incident commander.
Okay.
And so you kind of move up all these ranks, so to speak. And doing these things, it's different in the military slightly.
Sure.
You know, a lot of those folks have experience and confidence, but they're used to carrying 90 pounds of ultra lightweight gear. We prefer they don't do that. We prefer lighter, faster, safer. And so the training consists of things like basic tracking training, basic outdoor survival training. A lot of times it's what to take. You know, some folks will show up with 50 pounds in their pack and think, nah, some folks will show up with 10 pounds. And we're like, well, maybe we got to find a happy medium.
Sure, of course, yeah.
And so we have some just basic requirements for that stuff. The real exciting stuff, the high angle rock team training, the mountaineering training where we're going up couloirs and setting up ropes and that sort of stuff. You know, a lot of folks come in with that experience.
Okay.
And that's terrific. Some folks have no desire to do that. And we say, great. We have a place for you no matter what sort of experience
Sure,
you have.
yeah, okay.
So we'll pull from people we've pulled from newer members who have just a tremendous amount of experience. Like, oh, you're in charge of this training now. And they can pass on, you know, the avalanche skills, basically how to avoid avalanches, and those sorts of things. We have a tremendous communication system. About half of our members are ham radio operators because in Teller County, cell service doesn't work. There's a lot of dead spots.
Yeah.
But ham radios, we can almost always get out. So we have a lot of folks who are ham certified. We have basic radio communications training. All of our vehicles have pretty high power radios in them. And then we assign a really nice set of radios to people. What else do we teach?
Well, first aid, obviously. You do some basic first aid.
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah.
teach a wilderness
Wilderness
first
first
aid.
aid.
With help from the county and our team, we send people to EMT training. So we have some higher levels of training. We actually have a couple doctors on the team, which is real nice.
I'm sorry, I just jumped right in when he asked you a question.
Land navigation is one of the things day and night, where you actually use the compass and map. But most we use a GPS. We
Sure.
use CalTopo.
But having that backup at
But having
GPS is
you always got to have a backup.
Yeah, because batteries die.
Batteries die.
I used to love GPS. I used to love Land Navigation Terrain Association and Compass. So I get the value of
Yeah.
Yeah, and we realize that, you know, 3 days of orienteering training isn't going to make you an expert. So what we encourage people to do is test themselves.
Okay.
And then we're not going to send one person into the field ever. We're always going to send out mixed teams of experience level. We have a fitness, it's not so much a fitness test as it is a fitness scale where we can see where you're at, where you can go. We want to put folks of similar fitness levels on a team, and they can go, you know, the super fitted trail runners, mountain bikers, they can go up to the top of the mountain. And we're going to put your hikers down low.
Sure, okay.
And we can have the confidence then that we're not going to accidentally break up a team because of speed and those sorts of things.
Okay.
So we have a pretty robust training system. And then every meeting we'll hit on something where we need to, you know, increase awareness of that sort of thing.
So then you also work with multiple agencies, not just throughout the county, but external to the county. But I've seen on your reports working with EMS. I've actually, during one of the fires, I've come across search and rescue people up on top of Mount Pisgah, running the repeater up there, and then also just being staged to go out as necessary. And then I'm assuming you were talking about working with the dispatchers here and the deputies and kind of making your operations kind of aligned and supporting one another. Can you talk to me a bit about working with agencies within the county?
We have tremendous partnerships. The other agencies have different focuses, but some overlap.
Okay.
So, UpRad obviously is going to be doing major medical stuff, paramedic level medications and things like that. But we'll be there to support them because they don't drive up to a scene thinking they're going to hike in 2 miles and need to provide IV meds and things like that. We can say, we got your back. Come in with us. We're going to make sure you're not going to freeze to death.
Great.
Getting you out. We've got the litter. We've got someone got us a grant for an amazing titanium litter. It's fantastic.
That is pretty nice.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
Sturdy, light.
Sturdy, light.
Packable.
Yeah.
All right.
And so those UpRad, they're in the field. We can call for Flight for Life to come in. Flight for Life or the other helicopter-based programs can come in. They can help us search. They can help us transport. They can obviously get subjects out of the field quickly if we can provide a landing zone. If it really gets crazy, we can call Canyon City Hill Attack or HATS out of Eagle, out of Vail, and they can bring in some big equipment and provide rescuers to line down,
Sure.
and take someone out. We don't do that very often.
Okay.
That doesn't happen a lot. But more locally, our local volunteer fire departments, Divide Fire, we intermesh quite well. We've had them, they can provide ropes and litter access a certain distance off the road.
Okay.
So they can park at the top of the road and they have a motorized lift that can help get that stuff out. But where their ropes run out, that's where we step in.
Okay.
So we can provide intermediary anchors and things like that. When it comes to the forest fires, we'll be right there in the ops center, and we provide a lot of planning for evacuation.
Evacuations.
And sometimes we can work roads and things like that, and just try to scope the arsonist,
Sure.
that sort of thing.
Okay.
And the other thing, besides being part of the Sheriff's Department, we'll help with evidence searches.
Oh, okay.
We can provide a large group of people with the training and the organization to divide. We did an evidence search a few years ago where we had to search a large ranch area. And that involved dividing into certain areas based on terrain, likelihood of fines. And we were able to work with the Sheriff's Department, the FBI, and the CBI to really map out where we've been.
Okay.
And where the evidence potentially could be. And it was a tremendous effort amongst multiple agencies.
For sure. Yeah.
And I will say it was a point of pride for us to have the FBI walk in and say, we need to do this, 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 and this. And we said, we've got this, 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 and this done already. Let's go. They said, oh, okay. And so that's one of our big brag points was we were able to impress the local FBI folks and get out there and have a great search.
Now, how about working with agencies outside of Teller County, supporting El Paso or Park or whoever? How does that work?
So usually they call, El Paso will call and say, hey, can we get your help? Because it's like right on the county line. Mm-hmm. So everything pretty much goes through dispatch. They're the ones that tell us, yep, you're good to go. This is where you need to meet. Because obviously Park County goes all the way down to like Guffey, which is much closer for us.
Okay, yes.
And weather dependent, Rampart Range is a lot of El Paso County. If the weather's really bad, they might call and say, hey, can you maybe get this? It's, in your county. We had one that was actually turned out to be Douglas. Oh. It was so far up Rampart.
Yeah. They called Teller County. Uh-huh. Teller County dispatched us. We staged in El Paso County and did the rescue in Douglas. And all the other counties we call and say, hey, this is your thing.
The situation.
Do you guys want us to do this or you want to come down? And they said, oh no, you take it. We're good. We trust you. You got the people. It'll be all right.
Well, it almost sounds like you find yourself as the first people on a situation, and so instead of handing it off, you just continue doing whatever that operation is. Is that at least?
Yeah,
somewhat
generally, or at
accurate?
least just getting it started.
Sure, okay.
You know,
Okay.
like we're sending people into the fields, and when they get there, they can take over. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay, you can
we don't
prep it and
care.
hand it
Yeah.
off to the other,
Yeah.
to the other agencies.
yeah, this is what we've done so far, and you know, here's the maps that we're using, and this is who we have out in the field. Or you know, they might call us in and say, we have another mission going on, and so we've sent a small team. Can you send some people to help support?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, we'll go down to Green Mountain Falls and do those trails, which are all in El Paso County.
Well, there's the one trail goes into Teller County.
It does.
Into El Paso County.
Yeah.
Into Teller County. And so quite often we'll just all meet at the trailhead and whoever's there goes.
Okay, great.
And
Well, it
there-
sounds like then you have a great working relationship with the search and rescues all around outside of Teller County.
And we some of these big missions down in the Crestones, or recently in the news there was an update on the Michelle Vanek search, and that was
Sure.
from 18 years ago at Mount of the Holy Cross, and 18, maybe like 20 years ago. I was a brand new search and rescue person on that one.
Okay,
And whenever we need to do these major missions throughout the state, everybody chips in. There's the Colorado Search and Rescue Board, which helps coordinate all the units throughout the state when we have big missions like that.
all right.
So we have a few of our members who sit on call with CSRB, and they help manage missions all over the state. So our tiny little county, it's big, but for Colorado it's pretty small. And so our little group has folks who will be managing missions out in Routt County, things like that, just helping provide resources.
Okay.
Routt will call and say, hey, we really need a helicopter. And we'll say, all right, let's get you that helicopter. What do you need? What resources do you need? And we can start contacting National Guard and HATS and fire services and things like that, and really dump a lot of life-saving info to people. So
Now, again, we were talking about you guys are an all volunteer organization.
Yep.
Should somebody want to join, I will put a link to the webpage. It's tellersar.org.
Yep.
I'll put a link to both the webpage and your Facebook page in the show notes. But and through the webpage you can find the application. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my words.
Yep.
You can find the application to submit your packet to join. What are the requirements for an individual who may want to try out for the SAR posse?
So you have to be 18. You need to submit and fill out. It's a signed document to the sheriff's office. It's a volunteer packet that covers everything. You have to pass that background check from the sheriff's department.
Okay.
We make you go to 4 meetings.
Uh-huh.
So that we can get to know you and you can get to know us. Once you've turned in your packet, you can come to our classroom trainings, so that you get to. That's really a place for us to actually start making that connection. Like, what are your skills, and really get to start building that team with that person. And then after the 4th meeting, then you get voted in by the membership. And then you're allowed to go out into outside trainings and missions.
Okay.
And a lot of that might be your very first parts might be helping the mission coordinator take notes
Oh, yeah.
from radio communications, or keeping them awake because it's 2:00 in the morning.
Sure. That
Because
makes sense.
people don't think they're lost until it gets dark, which means our calls are later in the summer. Because the sun stays out later, so
Sure, of course.
it's more closer to dinner time as winter time comes, because it's starting to get dark earlier.
Okay.
Because you think you can find yourself and I'll be okay, and then it gets dark and you're like, well, now I can't see anything.
What are your expected time commitments to be part of the Search and Rescue Posse?
we've got our monthly meeting,
Okay.
which is the first Wednesday of the month down at Northeast Teller Fire. After those meetings, generally they're an hour long. Generally, there's an hour-long training afterwards.
Okay.
We expect that people will be an active part of a committee, whether that's the mission coordinator committee, the equipment committee, where you're going to spend extra time throughout the month keeping the UTVs aired up, keeping snowmobiles ready to go in the winter, those sorts of things.
Sure.
And that's committee driven. Then on the third Saturday of the month, we have a training. And this month, it's kind of split. We have a tremendous opportunity with the Pikes Peak Marathon and Ascent this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got folks who it's counted as a training because we're dealing with all kinds of medical issues during that event. So a few of us are going up there this weekend to help out with that. And the remaining team is doing
Survival and tracking.
survival
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
tracking training. And all these trainings are offered. April's a crazy month because we offer all of our trainings during April.
So that's your major, we were
Yeah.
talking about that
Yeah.
earlier, that's your major training time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. So that's our major training time. So you can join any time of the year for our unit. Other units have a very set schedule of, you're interested, you just moved to the area, you have to wait till August to start a training block, and then you're a new recruit. We're small enough that we can make adjustments and adaptations based on individual experience and that sort of thing. If you can bring in a resume saying you were a 10th Mountain Division trainer and led multiple crazy missions in Afghanistan or whatever, we'll take that info and potentially deploy you to the field a little sooner than other folks. You still have to do the four monthly meetings and all that sort of stuff, but you may end up in crazier terrain than the average new recruit.
Sure, okay.
But we'll certainly use you as your skills allow.
Okay.
And like Heather was saying, there's no better way to get to know what's going on a mission than to sit next to the mission coordinator, work in the radios, taking notes down, learning on the map, on the big screen, on the laptop, where all the teams are. Technology has changed us a lot. We used to put magnets on a map on the hood of a car.
Sure, yeah.
And we would plot out where people were going with either other magnets or stickers or whatever, where teams were. Now we have GPS, we have APRS radios that can help tell us where teams are. It's really terrific to sit in your garage or your living room and watch the teams you've assigned go throughout the field, and we can tell exactly where everyone's searched.
Sure.
And it really allows us to pinpoint where we need to go next, have less wasted time, those sorts of things. Technology's come a long way in 20 years. It's really awesome. I really like to encourage people from all walks of life, because the more diversity we have, the more areas we're able to approach problem solving with. And younger members and older members are just as valuable. People with less experience might have experienced recently a situation where they're feeling lost.
Sure.
And one of the things that helped on the Michelle Vanek search was Vail Mountain Rescue put a group of female-led, all-female teams into the field at her last known point, and they divided up to be in the mindset of a woman trying to hike down a mountain alone. And they all ended up in the same place, unplanned. And they searched that area, and that's where they found her belongings.
Okay.
So the male minds, female minds, there's a whole spectrum of how people think, but there are some generalities that, putting that team in the field was a stroke of brilliance.
Sure.
And it was like, oh. So we highly encourage people of all different thoughts, backgrounds, to get in there. We want the military guys for some things. We need some folks who have a business background for others. We just really, that diversity helps us find people who are diverse. We help dirt bikers who are lost. We help hikers who are lost. We help hunters. We help mushroom pickers, you know, and these are all different subsets of how people think quite often.
Okay.
So we encourage people, even if you don't have a ton of experience in the outdoors, if you want to help and you're in a situation where you can break away from work and you can respond to missions, that's the most important thing. You know, can you be there?
Well, and your organization has the experience and the personnel to guide those specialties to where they need to be, and you're not going to put anybody into someplace they shouldn't be.
No.
Absolutely not. Yep.
And you can always tell the mission coordinator when they're putting you into a team. I don't feel safe doing this, or I'm not comfortable going to this area.
Okay.
And you know, that's perfectly fine, and we can definitely find something else for that person to do, or a different team for them to be on.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We will assign people to driving, to contain.
The perimeter.
We'll assign people to e-bikes.
Okay.
We'll assign people to four-wheelers, to UTVs, to hiking, to rock work, you know, and obviously we're not going to send anyone over the edge of a cliff to rescue someone stranded on that cliff who hasn't had a lot of training.
Okay.
And been checked off and signed off on multiple different trainings for that sort of thing. So we've had people come in who've never touched a rope in their life and been some of our best high angle people because they've worked through the system. And then we've had people come in with years and years of rock climbing experience and had to shift their mindset from a rock climbing mindset to a rescue mindset and the safety parameters of each. So literally, if you can pass that background check and you
there's
have
a spot for you.
there's a spot for you.
So I also understand that the Search and Rescue Posse is completely funded through grants and donations. Just wanted to let everybody know that if you want to donate to help the Search and Rescue, which if you're out there and you could very well find yourself one of their clients, you may want to put a few dollars towards them. You can find that also as a link on the webpage, again, which I will put in the show notes to this episode.
So one of the things to piggyback on that is quite often you'll be at Walmart and you'll be buying some ammo or whatever, and they'll say, do you want to buy a search and rescue card? And there's a couple misconceptions with those CSRB cards.
Okay.
And they say, well, if you have this, it'll make it free. And like, no, it's always free. What that card does is it allows us, if you have that card, to submit to the state for some reimbursement for used up materials, broken axles on four-wheelers, whatever.
Okay.
So that's what that's for. Also, your fishing license, your hunting license has a little fee associated with it that helps fund search and rescue. There's been some changes with how search and rescue funding works. It's now through Colorado Fish and Wildlife, Parks and Wildlife. And so there's some more funding available through that. But we do, donations are wonderful. Grants allow us to purchase big ticket items, but grants are written for specific things.
Sure.
So if we don't get a grant for other things, that donation money helps us with that. So there's and then also the sheriff's department and the county help out too. You know, we're a valued member of the county and of a subset of the sheriff's department. So we do get a little bit of money from there also. They can help out with extra things. So we encourage people, you know, to talk us up to the commissioners.
Absolutely.
We love you guys, but they've come through with some big things to help us out. So we really appreciate that also.
And I've heard a lot of questions. I've been asked a lot about how people can volunteer for the community. And should you be one of those people, search and rescue is a fantastic way to get out there and directly help the people of the county, the people coming and visiting the county, heck, even people maybe slightly external to the county in some of those areas. Mm-hmm. So, yes.
Search and rescue in Colorado is a multi-billion-dollar, it's not search and rescue, tourism in Colorado. So
Which leads to search and rescue.
tourism, outdoor recreation in Colorado is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it supports many of the towns that aren't on the Front Range. Search and rescue in Colorado helps keep that billion-dollar industry safe. So it's not just individuals, it's entire towns. So we want the reputation to be go recreate, get out there, have fun, be prepared, but if something happens, we got your back.
And the first call you make should be to 911 before you call your wife, girlfriend, or whatever, because everybody seems that you drained your battery.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And it's so much better if you can call. We have coordinates if you call 911. We only have a very brief description of a rock and some ground if you call somebody else and say, I'm lost.
if you call us and say, I'm standing by a big rock in Teller County, congratulations, you've narrowed it down to Teller County.
Right, that's right.
That's as simple as it is. So yeah, do your research. There's tons of websites with amazing information for hikers, for mountain bikers, for climbers, for mountaineers. Get on those sites, do your research, and set yourself up for success. Don't be afraid of the woods, but be respectful.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I think we're good. We've covered a whole lot today. Heather, Mitch, thank you so much for coming out and talking to us talking to us about search and rescue, what they can expect, and really give an increased feeling of safety for those who are out there. Don't be dumb though, but out there hiking, hunting, doing whatever great outdoor experiences they may find out here in Teller County. So thank you for joining us for this episode, and we will be seeing you next time on the Teller County Sheriff's Office podcast.